broadcasting live 4 days a week worldwide
from the sunny beaches of Southern California.
This is ExtremeHealthRadio.com.
Well, hello there. This is Steve Hines from Hope Wellness Center in Cunha, Mexico. And I love listening to Justin and Kate because they provide such cutting-edge information. Tune in live every day to get inspired and learn about natural health. Dr. Feelgood signing off.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on another episode of Extreme Health Radio. We appreciate you guys being on the live show. We broadcast live Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And that would be 12 Eastern.
That's right.
12 Eastern, so nothing wrong with that. And we appreciate you guys being on. This is episode 252, and we're going to have Wendy Wilson on the show talking about all kinds of different
woohoo!
herbs and women's issues and health and chemtrails and all kinds of fun stuff. Right,
women's issues to chemtrails, we pretty much got it covered.
Got it all covered. So we'll be introducing her in just a moment. And like I said, this is episode 252. And for reference, this is May 21st, 2014.
Look at you, got it right the first time.
Right.
Good job.
Quick, thank you.
Yeah, you're on it today.
I'm getting quick. Getting better.
You are.
If you guys would like to send in a question to Wendy, to us, to any of our future guests, you can always email us, Justin at ExtremeHealthRadio.com.
Or Kate, Kate, at ExtremeHealthRadio.com.
And you can also support us if you'd like to do that financially. You can go through, if you guys go through or go to Amazon on a regular basis, you can go through our link, which is ExtremeHealthRadio.com/Amazon. And that will just redirect you to Amazon.com, and you can purchase anything you like. And it doesn't have to be health related. And if you do that often, that helps to support our show. So it's a good thing.
We are very grateful.
Very, very grateful. And today we have herbalist Wendy Wilson from thepowerherbs.com. And she was actually our 16th guest back in October of 2012.
Right? I wasn't even around.
Where were you?
I mean, I was around, but
you were alive?
I was alive.
Yeah, so she was. Her website is thepowerherbs.com, and it's lots of great herbal extracts, tinctures, and formulations that she's put together for different ailments and for different times in your life, for men, for women, for different issues. She's got a really interesting product there called the Heart Attack Pack.
I saw that.
And lots of really, really interesting stuff. And in 1999, she wrote a book, a how-to book called The Power Herbs, 13 Herbs Every Medicine Cabinet Should Have. And she has her own radio show and just really knocking it out of the park. And she's also going to be in Ty Bollinger's upcoming Cancer Summit.
Ooh, I want to talk some more about that.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Wendy, for being on the show today.
Oh, well, thank you. And you two are just too cute. You know that? You are. It's just a joy to be here today with you and enlightening people, empowering people. That's what I like to do. And it sounds like that's what you two like to do as well. And so there's just more than one way to deal with certain things that, affect our health. So if people are looking for natural solutions to everyday problems, then this is what we're going to chat about.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Great.
So you are in North Carolina, or is it South Carolina?
No, we're in North Carolina. We used to have a store in South Carolina, but we closed that, and we kind of just consolidated and are focusing on the manufacturing end of our product line because that's what we do. We tend to specialize in immune boosting and organ cleansing because way back when, in ancient times when I was in herb school, I kind of just felt that, cleanse and nourish, pretty basic, get the toxins out, put the nutrition in, and you got most things covered as far as prevention. So I know we're not supposed to say that, but I'm saying it.
Yeah,
and
there you
so
go.
I think if we just keep it simple, the body, if we work with the body, we have a very sophisticated immune system that helps us out every day. So if we just keep it simple and work with it instead of against it, we can accomplish a whole lot. So that's what we tend to do, and that's what we focus on at Apothecary Herbs. We do have some extra things over the years. Our customers have asked us, hey, that worked really great, but do you have anything for?
Yeah.
And, from prostate to, heart stuff to shingles. And so we've kind of layered in some things because the people were needing it,
Yeah, and you know what is really cool? I like your herb kits, too. Looks like you have really interesting products. Like you have that pandemic kit, emergency cold flu prevention. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an amazing thing, and a lot of people are, in education mode, and we like to educate our consumers, too. So we do have a healthy guidelines section on there explaining, the storability of your tinctures. If you keep them in an environmentally controlled area, they can last 10 years or more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the shelf life's really there, so people are liking that, especially when they want to stock up and have things on hand for emergencies down the road.
That's bad for business. 10 years? That's not a good business plan.
Well, it's, people, they'll buy their pandemic kits and they're just going to keep it for a pandemic. And that's all great. But then they'll say, they'll call up and say, I got this really nasty crud. What do I do? And I'm like, well, according to our records, you have a pandemic kit, crack it open.
Yeah, there you go.
And they go, I can use it for that? I said, yeah. I'd be very versatile. We give you a master sheet in there. So you can use a lot of those products for cold, flu, everything, So it's very, very affordable and versatile. You can keep it for an emergency or you can, open it and use it when you need it. So
that's so cool. The other day, Ty Bollinger came by. He blew through town here, and we had a green juice with him, and he told me about the project he's working on, and
the Cancer Truth Chronicles,
the
right?
Cancer Truth Chronicles, yeah, and you're in it.
Yeah,
That's so
cool. He was amazing. He was here interviewing another natural physician, and he says, you're right next door in the next town over. You've got to come over. And I said, well, sure. So, we went over and we had a nice little 50-minute, interview. And I know he was Zooming everywhere, all over the country, collecting all this information on, natural ways for dealing with things like cancer. So it'll be excellent, I'm sure.
That's so cool. Yeah, he came through. I think he was in San Diego.
He was, yeah.
And then he was going up to L.A., and he stopped in between here, and we had a chance to meet him and have a little green juice, and we met his cameraman. Just good
Neat
people.
guy.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, he's got a couple of books out, and I've got a couple of them. I've had him on my show. He's just really the detective. I call him the detective, into natural stuff. So more power to Ty. That's all I got to say. Now, he does contribute articles, and so do you, to our newsletter. So people can go to the website, thepowerherbs.com, if they want to get a free online newsletter sent to their email each week. So it's a lot of empowering stuff. A lot of different authors are writing, and so it's just more information that people can tap into.
That's awesome. I'm on your website now. How do I do that?
Okay, so you go down on the left side, the navigational side of the page, and you look for books and newsletters, and you click on that. I think it's 2/3 of the way down.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Books and newsletters. Okay.
And then you can get in there, and there's a couple of them. Now, the American Survival, which is the one you're writing for, has a lot of people writing. That covers health, politics, finances, kind of a smattering of things. And that goes out on Tuesdays. And then the Health Quest newsletter is just the natural healing stuff, and that goes out on Fridays.
Okay.
So twice. Wow.
That's great. So is your book, the book that you wrote about all the different medicines in your medicine cabinet, is that still available? The 13 Power Herbs, I think it's called?
It is, but it's a PDF now. It went through 2 printings, and now it's out of print. And I have people that are very traditional, and they want a book. And God bless them. I wish I had a book to sell them. I need to write a new book. My editor says I need to do that. So it's just between the products and the radio shows, it's not too much time there. So I'll have to buckle down somewhere and write a new book. But they can find, if they must have an old-fashioned hard copy, they can find used versions on Amazon.
Okay.
But brace yourself. The used versions vary in price. I think the cheapest one will run you about $150.
Oh my goodness!
Holy moly!
Wow.
And if you want a primo condition signed copy, it's $1,500.
Oh my goodness! That's amazing.
You're not kidding.
I know. I told my brother and sister they have copies when it first came out, and I said, "Don't get any ideas."
Like Michael Jordan,
Seriously,
the memorabilia. That's amazing.
Well, and it's a really kind of get your feet wet kind of book. If you never used herbs, don't know anything about them, it's a good place to start. The Power Herbs book, and 13 herbs is the herbs I picked that people can use that won't get them into too much trouble, especially if they're using over-the-counter or prescription meds, because sometimes herbs don't mix well with those things.
Oh, right.
And also you can use those 13 herbs single, by themselves for certain things, and you can use them in combos for other applications for a synergistic effect. So there's a building of knowledge in the book with a herb symptom reference guide, so they can kind of leaf to, headaches and see what the herbal options are.
This is a good place to start, because even in the chat room, our first question came in from Gwenny, and she says, what would Wendy recommend as a first aid herbal kit to have on hand?
Well, we do have the Power Herbs kit, which has those 13 herbs. Okay. And we do have the pandemic kit, which is more geared to 10 days of coverage for pandemics. Okay. And so you've got, formulas in that kit that typically hit various areas of the body, like upper respiratory, congestion lung, overall, immune boosting capabilities, sinuses. So it kind of targets certain things, and you can use them separately or layer them for overall coverage, and the kit shows you how to do that. And then we have some sections on the website. If Gwenny wants to go to thepowerherbs.com, we have even a section where you want to stock up on something, for a rainy day. There's a stock up on a budget section, and then there's a stock up with no budget section. And you could just, kind of peruse and see what you need. We also have, for those that are, stocking up like for Fort Knox kind of thing, we have the vitamin vault area.
Ooh,
they can kind of buy by the cases and get discounts that way.
Oh my goodness!
So in the $1,500 they might be saving on the book, they might be able to put toward a stock up of products.
Well, now the PDF version of our book that we send to them in email, that's $14.99.
Well, there you go. So they can have it all.
And we try to work with them, because a lot of people want a printed copy, but they don't want to spend, the Amazon price. So we can send them a printable version, and then they can print it out or send it to the print center. And I think that may cost them about $30 to get it printed up.
Well, that's not too shabby, so they can have it kind of the whole package. Gwenny also followed up right now and said, how long is the kit good for? A year or two? That's a good question.
Well, if you environmentally store them. They don't have to be refrigerated. Okay, you want to actually, prevent your herbs from being exposed to a lot of heat and a lot of moisture and light. So a cabinet in a closet away from heat and light is a good place. Just now, if you don't have air conditioning, and let's say you're in Arizona, then you're probably going to have to put it in the fridge.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But again, I'm not really crazy about the fridge light coming on and off, so you might have to, conceal it in something so that it's not exposed to a lot of light. Herbs are light sensitive, and that's why they're usually in the dark amber glass bottles, to help protect them a little bit.
So what happens to them? Haven't they found tinctures and things like that are thousands of years old?
I don't know about thousands of years old. I've heard of tinctures that are like 100 years old, one of my herb professors, Dr. Schultz at the School of Natural Healing, he talked about tagging along with John Christopher, the founder of the school, in his early career, and they went to visit an Indian medicine man. And he had tinctures that were 100 years old, over 100 years old. So Schultz had to taste it. He just had to taste it. And he said it curled his toes.
Oh, it was so strong, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and here's the thing, in the Power Herbs book we were talking about, I even show people how they can make their own tinctures if they want to make some very simple formulas. They don't have to be real complex, maybe just some echinacea. And I say the longer you age it, the stronger it gets.
So if somebody were to do that, would they get like a loose leaf thing and do it themselves, or how would where would they get the loose and the dry product to make the tinctures themselves?
Well, there's the $1 million question. I'm kind of anal retentive about my herb ingredients. I like certified organic, grown to tilth, TILTH standards. And you're probably familiar with that, being from California. That's where all those standards kind of started. Basically, the soil is rested, the mineral content's back. They use the soil to harvest a crop that the soil hasn't been treated with fertilizers, ethylene oxide gas, any pesticides or herbicides. So the soil's pretty pure and full of nutrients. And so to grow a crop in soil like that, you may lose 15% of the crop due to pests.
Okay? I see.
But usually year after year, the crops are healthier, and pests tend to like sick plants. Did you know that?
Yes.
They go for the
weak
lowest denominator.
The weak, yeah. So year after year, the organic growers don't lose as much, and actually come out better than if they were using a lot of stuff on their crops. But anyway, so if you start out with an certified organic tilth standard ingredient, you're miles ahead. You won't have the chemicals that are very detrimental to the central nervous system. So start with that. There's a couple of farms. There's one in Oregon called Pacific Botanicals. Are you familiar with them?
I'm not. I'm familiar with Mountain Rose Herbs. I think they're up somewhere up there too.
Yeah. But so you can find some really good quality organic ingredients to start with. And what you do is, get a large jar, wide mouth jar, and you put your herb in there. Now you can use chopped or powdered herbs. You can get it that way. And I tell people just use 80 proof vodka. You don't need anything strong like 100 proofs. If for resins and barks, you may need a little bit stronger, but for echinacea roots and things, you're okay with 80 proof. Okay. It's overkill if you go too strong. Yeah. Anyway, so you fill your jar 2/3 full with your herb, and then pour just enough of your alcohol over to cover the herb. Put the lid on, label your jar what it is, and let it age at least a month. And write the date on it. Cover it so it's away from heat and light, and then you want to cold press it. And then in my book, I show them how they can do that. Of course, here at Apothecary Herbs, we have hydraulic presses, but they don't touch the herb with any heat or friction, which is important. But they can just do their own kind of pressing. Get a big bowl. And put a strainer or colander inside the bowl, and they can use a very clean cotton T-shirt if they want. They don't have to use cheesecloth. Actually, cheesecloth drives me insane. It's so stringy and it falls apart too easy.
Oh yeah.
So just get a T-shirt, and what you do is pour off the liquid from your jar. The wide mouth jar, and you can strain out the herb. The rest of the herb you can throw into that T-shirt that's sitting in the colander and tie it up, and then just kind of squeeze it, just like you were trying to pop a balloon. You kind of just squeeze it, and it's like squeezing a tea bag.
Okay.
And so this is the highly concentrated stuff that's still in the fibrous part of your herb. Now you've poured off a majority of your tincture, and then what you do is what you squeeze out, you add to that, and so you have a very good brew, very strong tincture there. It's better than what you buy in stores.
And how long do you think that would last?
That's going to last 10 years.
10 years, and then
just as long as you have it in a place where it's not going to get a lot of heat, and because when you get a lot of heat, it evaporates. See, so you want to keep it in a closet, away from heat and light, environmentally controlled area, and it should be good for 10 years. I have tinctures that they're like pushing 20 years sitting here. This is my private stock that I use.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
My gosh.
You don't let just anyone come and see those.
Oh, that's for family, family calls me up and says, hey, And so I send them the private stuff. And, so I kind of keep it separate, because otherwise my accountant will kill me.
Wow. So what are some, perhaps are there one or two, do you think people could use for their immune system to do these types of tinctures?
Well, sure. I mean, you want to save echinacea for when you're sick, when you're coming down with something. Echinacea does an excellent job of stimulating your natural immune system to manufacture more macrophages, which are from the white blood cells of your immune system. And your white blood cells only have a life of a day. So this just ramps up the immune part of the blood system, and it's sort of like Pac-Man. Gobbles up all the pathogens floating in your blood, like your viruses and bacteria that are making you sick. So it just shortens your duration of illness. It's really good at doing that. But echinacea, in order to do that, you don't want to overuse it. Because then it won't stimulate your immune system as well. So you want to use your echinaceas just when you need them. You don't want to take them like a multivitamin. Okay? So if you're looking for something that you want to elevate your immune system a little bit but not overstimulate it, you can use things like Astragalus roots real good. I like to layer it in with some ginseng. Actually, we have a product that was really a good, flu buster, if you will, during the flu season. At the first sign of anything, you just take these 3 formulas. It's called My 3 Amigos.
Nice.
I love it.
It's on our website. It's under the immune system area. I think it's up at the top, that first one. And it's kind of a cute little thing. We've got our bottles dressed like amigos.
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
This
That's
is so funny.
Yeah. Anyway, and so what you're doing there is you're using your Astragalus root and your ginsengs for a synergistic effect. There is an immune system echinacea formula in that pack too that you can power up with if you're, really coming down with something fast. And so in a day or so, you're back to normal. And I came up with that idea because during this past winter, I felt like my head weighed 1,000 pounds. Wow. And I said, oh, Lordy, I'm getting a head cold, right? So I said, where's my 3 amigos? And I went, oh, that's great. That's great. I can empower people, and it just impacts them when you start to, have a relationship with herbs and how they work and how they're going to benefit you.
That's so cool. Yeah, looks like a really interesting product. My 3
Doesn't
amigos.
it though? I'm on here right now.
Yeah, American ginseng and Astragalus, and what's the third one here?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and we do have it, for adult and children's. The children's version has the children's echinacea, which has a orangey taste. We add a little bit of tangerine. Children tend to interpret echinacea as a spicy, hot taste.
Oh, okay.
And it's not really. It's just that echinacea will numb your tongue briefly.
I see. Okay.
And so just to tone down that sensation for them, we add a little bit of tangerine, and so they like it.
I see that here. Obviously, everything also, it says gluten-free and wheat.
Absolutely. We switched over to the organic alcohol.
That's awesome.
Last fall. Yeah, because our supplier could no longer guarantee that the corn ethanol would not be GMO.
Oh, I see. That's
sense.
a big problem, isn't it?
It's huge.
It is. And so, and you talking about a major pickup in cost to use, certified organic alcohol. It bumped up the tinctures by 70 cents an ounce just to cover costs. So, but it is, it is what it is, if you want something that's, going to help you. And so we went with the wheat gluten-free because the other alternative, if you're going to use a organic alcohol, is sugarcane. And sugarcane has a little bit more glucose. We wanted to avoid kicking up anybody's glucose, especially if they were sensitive to blood sugar issues.
Or if they're sick, or I guess just for any reason. Interesting.
We have one interesting question here, too, in the chat room. A guest says, I was wondering about marshmallow root. Does Wendy know some traditional ways in which it was prepared and made into food?
Yeah, actually, marshmallow is what I would call a survival herb if you're like, a refugee and you need to find something to eat. Look for around the riverbanks and marshy areas, you'll find marshmallow root. And it was originally used for confections, for candies and things. And actually, if you in some countries, they'll use marshmallow root. The kids walk around like if it was a stick of licorice,
Really?
Yeah, and they would boil it up, and it would turn into this white, foamy, frothy stuff, when they cook it, and of course, make marshmallows out of it. But marshmallow root is very much one of the mucilaginous type of herbs, so it gets kind of. Not only does it kind of, bulk up and get light and fluffy, but it's kind of slippery, Yeah. So it's really good for soothing certain membranes of the digestive tract. Okay.
That makes sense.
So if you've got digestive issues, marshmallow root, you could layer in some slippery elm even if you want. And boy, does that soothe tissue.
I was just going to say, I did exactly those two together for a while there when I was having some stuff. And man, that within 2 days, I felt like very different. Mm-hmm. It was a pretty powerful combo. The two amigos.
And it tastes nice too.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
We're going to take a little break here. We're with Wendy Wilson, and we're going to talk. You're quite the Renaissance woman. You have your own radio show, and I'm looking at some of your past archives, and you were talking on your most recent show, MERS, I think it's pronounced. And
ooh, yes, we must chat about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Chemtrails.
Ooh, yeah.
Interesting stuff that you've been having some shows about. If you're interested in her radio show, you can go to her website, thepowerherbs.com, and click up at the top, Herb Talk Live and Archive, so you can check out those on the break. And we're with, again, Wendy Wilson. This is episode 252, and we broadcast live Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific if you'd like to join us. And we'll be right back right after this break. In today's modern world, we're surrounded by magnetic radiation, electric fields, radio waves, microwaves from our cell phones, our laptops, our computers, iPads, and even cell phone towers and power lines. These EMF frequencies damage the blood-brain barrier, they cause sleep problems, they decrease melatonin, and disturb our electric bodies. After much research, that's why we recommend a company called Less EMF. Listen to what founder Dr. Emil de Toffel has to say.
The dangers of radiation. Where do you even begin? There's many different kinds of radiation and there's many different kinds of dangers. Modern electronic devices will emit a variety of electromagnetic fields. Electric fields, magnetic fields, radio waves, and microwaves. This type of radiation has been associated with a variety of health effects, including cancers, headaches, sleeplessness, ADD, diabetes, and more. The effects seem to be cumulative, and our exposure seems to be cumulative as we're adding more and more electronic devices in our world and spending more and more time with each one. Radiation levels and the type of radiation from these devices vary, but its impact seems to accumulate in the body. So we do have shielding of a variety of different kinds. We have shielding metals to control magnetic fields, shielding canopies to put over your bed. So if you have an electromagnetic situation, we probably have a solution for it.
Protect yourself and your family today. They've got very affordable products for all of your portable devices, your home, and more. Visit extremehealthradio.com/less EMF. That's LESSEMF. Or check them out in our store to see videos. Again, go to extremehealthradio.com/less EMF.
If you have any digestive problems whatsoever, I highly recommend getting a squatty potty that sits right underneath your toilet. Squatty potties help give relief from constipation and bloating, hemorrhoids and straining, IBS, pelvic floor, and bladder issues. See, as humans, we are designed to squat when we eliminate, and when we sit on a toilet, that angle kinks and pinches off the puborectalis muscle in your colon, and the squatty potty opens the colon to eliminate more quickly and completely. Listen to what Daniel Vitalis has to say about that.
One of the reasons I love to promote the idea of the squat toilet is because, for a couple of reasons. One, there's a ligament that wraps around your colon that prevents you, when you're in the seated position, from being able to have an effective bowel movement. But that ligament's loosed when we're in a full squat. So people are fighting their own body to defecate this way. Now, in the rest of the world, people defecate in the squat. Use a squat toilet. I'm so big on this. I've got a video on my website about that, but I really believe that it's important we start to actually defecate in an anatomically correct position. So, nobody sits on chairs to defecate except people in the West, and we have more rectal and bowel problems than anybody, more constipation than anybody, but this actually puts our body in a disadvantageous position for trying to go to the bathroom. So if you don't have a squat toilet or don't want to invest in one, I don't know, stack some books up, but get something where you can actually squat up above the toilet or at least get your knees up higher.
Justin and I love our squatty potties. Start improving your digestion and elimination today by going to extremehealthradio.com/squat or see it in our store. Again, go to extremehealthradio.com/squat and watch the video to learn more.
100% listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Don't forget to join our thriving community for health tips, inspiration, and show updates at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook.
You'd think we were somewhere hanging out in the South drinking iced tea on a porch, wouldn't you?
Maybe down in Louisiana.
Maybe. I want to be there. No, California's just great.
What's a good southern drink?
Mint julep.
Mint julep. There you go.
You like that?
Sitting on the porch drinking a mint julep.
A hurricane. The one time we went to New Orleans, those are the two that I had, and man, were they good.
I know, they're good, right?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a mint julep.
Right?
So we are with Wendy Wilson from thepowererbs.com. And if you guys would like to join us on Facebook, please feel free to do that. We'd love to have you a part of the community on there. And if you have any questions also about the less EMF products, we have about 3 of them here, and we love them. And as well as a squatty potty, too. The thing's just incredible. It's just the best. I think everybody should have one of those things. So if you guys have any questions about any of those products, please just let me know. And Kate, we still haven't figured out what that guy's singing about.
Nope, but we're working on it.
We're working on it.
I like it.
Thepowererbs.com is where you can find Miss Wendy Wilson, and you can find all of her past show archives on her own radio talk show if you click on Herb Talk Live and Archive. But I wanted to get into the MERS and the chemtrails, Wendy, but we had one last listener question from the chat room that Kate has.
The last one was wondering if the tincture herb concoctions better or weaken with time.
Well, there again, it depends on what you're exposing them to. Mm-hmm. Normally, they get better with age, but you have to make sure they don't get a lot of heat. There's people that, buy herbs and they leave them in their glove box in the car and it gets too hot,
right.
So you don't want to do that. If you have it in an environmentally controlled area, the longer you have them, the better they get. What we do at Apothecary Herbs is if we have enough stock on a particular formula, we rotate out the items on a schedule because we make 100 different things. But what we do is if we don't absolutely have to press that right now because we still have stock from the last pressing, we continue to let it age and it just gets stronger. But we don't charge more for that. It's just the regular batch price. So, but yeah, we've got formulas that have aged, several months to 1 or 2 years even.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so they're just really strong. People can make it themselves, and they can really, like we talked in the first part of the show, they can make their own tincture, and you can make a professional strength formula. You can. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, you just got to learn how to do it and get the instructions and just follow it.
Become your own little chemist healer.
Yeah, it's not that hard, is it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they can pick up the Power Herbs book for $14.99, and there's a chapter in there how to, like we talked about, how they can go through and make a product and have it. There's lots of people that'll call me up and say, how do I do this? Am I doing something wrong? There was one guy who was trying to duplicate our relaxation formula.
Oh, okay.
And that formula has one herb in it, and it's called Lobelia. And it's really good for congestion. Okay, asthmatics love it. It dilates the bronchial. If you have anything in there, you can cough it up. And anyway, it's just one of those great herbs. But the secret to making that into a tincture is you have to age it in 2 different catalysts. So you have to age it in alcohol and vinegar. And that's why a lot of companies won't even bother with it, because it's too much trouble.
And then at the end, you just combine the 2? Is that how it works?
Well, what you want to do is you can age them at the same time in the catalyst, but you want to use equal parts. So just make sure you have equal parts of your vodka and your certified organic, hopefully, vinegar. They can pick up Bragg. Bragg is a good vinegar. Okay. Made out there in California where you guys are.
Yeah. Yep, we have it.
That's an apple cider vinegar. Is there a difference?
Apple cider. That's good. Good
that'll work?
Shake it up. A lot of sediment, which is the good stuff. Shake it up and then, mix that in with your vodka to make your catalyst. But see, Lobelia's got 16 alkaloids. It's kind of at the top of the alkaloid chemistry list when you're looking at herbs. So if you want to grab all 16 so it'll work right, you got to do it that way.
Ah, interesting. Look at all these little tricks in the
trade. I know,
trade.
right?
It's amazing, yeah.
There's many, I'm sure.
So you had a recent radio show on May 15th. I'm looking at your archive section here. Is this how you pronounce it, MERS, like the real estate thing?
Right.
Okay.
It's, Middle East respiratory syndrome.
Okay.
A lot of people are, hearing about it because now they're seeing cases kind of crop up in other countries. We've had a few here in the United States. Canada's had a few. But basically, they're reporting more cases over in the Middle East. There's over 500 of them. And if they're reporting accurately, they're saying it's got a higher mortality rate. MERS does. 145 people, they say, have died this year with it.
Oh, my goodness.
So virologists now are kind of trying to hunt down where this disease originated. And you're seeing more and more like SARS virus, for instance, is another one where it's kind of coming from the animal kingdom and kind of jumping over to humans, which is rare, by the way. It's not supposed to do that. So if you talk to some folks, like Dr. Rebecca Carley's one, she believes this is laboratory induced. This is man-made to do that.
Yeah, we've talked to a lot of people that have said things like that. Like Dr. John Apsley was talking about the Lyme disease and similar situation there. Yeah.
Right. So, I think there's certain safety measures I think our creator, put in there, and bridging the gap has got to be something I think you'd have to work on. But anyway, it's just a weird thing because in 2012, regarding this MERS, there was a Dr. Zakai who had a patient who was a 60-year-old businessman from the Saudi port of Jeddah. And he came in with a fever and coughing, and then 11 days later, he's dead.
Whoa.
Okay? And they didn't know what it was he had. And so they were trying to, eliminate, was it SARS, the coronavirus, the Ebola, nymphovirus from bats, Hendra virus from horses, the Hantra virus from rodents. None of those things matched.
Nothing matched.
So what they did is Dr. Sakai, he kind of packaged up samples and sent it off to Emirates and Rottingham to see if the virologists there, the epidemiologists, could figure it out. And what happened was this kind of spiked a lot of curiosity 2 years ago, and the folks at EcoHealth Alliance, got on board, and they're kind of disease detectives. They'll go everywhere.
Wow.
And so they packed their bags, and they headed off to Saudi. And they wanted to check out the patient who died. They called him the index patient. Okay. For some reason, that's how his case kind of became to be known. Okay. So they went to the index patient's home and business, and they were looking around. And long story short is they were having trouble kind of making a connection. Everything was checking out, but they were convinced that maybe this thing came from bats. So they went bat caves, and they were looking for samples and this and that. And originally, SARS was originally, the World Health Organization named it the novel coronavirus.
What does that mean?
And, well, yeah, I know. Well, coronavirus, corona is Latin, and it means crown. And because if you look at the virus under a microscope, it kind of has these little knobby things. It looks like a crown.
Okay.
So that's where they came up with the Conora term for it. But later, since it seemed to have a higher mortality rate and it was happening in the Middle East, then it kind of got dubbed Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, SARS. So MERS. So they kind of went around and round and round, and so it started to spread. People get on airplanes and they kind of spread the stuff. So now, England had some cases, Germany, France, Greece, lots of people in Europe had it. And so the disease detectives were ramping up to find out where this came from.
I can imagine. So were these people being diagnosed? Were they actually dying, or were they just diagnosed?
Some of them were. Some weren't. And I think it's like the mortality rate's like close to 30%.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah. So I guess it really just depends on the level of immune system function.
Yeah.
And because there's really no drugs or vaccines they can give you for this. But anyway, to get to the chase here, cut to the chase, the disease detectives from the folks at the Echo Health Alliance, they went back to the index patient's house, and they found next to his house he had a paddock, and in there were animals, and there was 4 camels. Okay, camels are big in the Middle East,
Yeah.
And I thought they were just kind of like pack animals for transportation. They are, but over in the Middle East they can also be pets. Oh, wow. So they started syringing and swabbing and testing, and they tested all the goats and sheep and everything that was there, including the camels. And the camels came up with a biological footprint to the MERS virus.
Interesting. Okay, so now you got the camels with it. Then what'd they do?
Well, and here's the thing. They discovered that, the camels come from Africa over there. So they're imported. And I was talking to Dr. Carly about this. She goes, well, they're probably vaccinated when they come over. And, they're in a quarantine for a while. It's just goes when you're importing livestock. Yeah. So they probably are getting it through some sort of vaccine, she thinks.
Oh, because perhaps maybe when they're in Africa, they're actually healthy and okay. And then when they come over and get the vaccination,
it tweaks
their makeup. And the thing is not all camels have it. It's just the ones from Africa. And they did find camels in the Canary Islands with it as well, and also in Australia, because when the British came over, about 100 years or so, they were using the animals to transport, crates and things, and so those animals actually came over from Africa too. So they have the footprint as well, and but the people that handled the camels in Africa, they have the footprint for MERS in their blood work, but they have a resistance to it.
Interesting.
Did they conclude how this was passing? Like, I mean, are they sharing food with them? What are they doing?
Like I said, they haven't really figured out. Well, okay, so the camels have it. Where did the camels get it?
Right.
And so they're going back to that bat theory, because bats harbor like 84 different viruses, and so they think a bat bit a camel at some point and it started there, but they haven't actually scientifically nailed it down. But basically, they're saying, over there in the Middle East, they eat camel meat and they drink camel milk. So they're kind of alerting folks that, make sure it's all cooked and pasteurized.
Interesting. So it's got a 30% mortality rate, and according to the pharmaceuticals and the drugs, they don't have any answers for this.
Nope, they sure don't. But it does tell me, though, the immune system can deal with it. If the people in Africa have the footprint for it as well and have resistance to it, and so the folks in the Canary Islands see. So basically, power up the immune system, because if you go to the hospital, they're going to put you on a ventilator. They're going to give you antibiotics, which suppress immune system. So everybody that's walked in there doesn't seem to be walking out.
Oh.
Interesting, yeah.
So it doesn't pay to be friends with a camel these days. Is the lesson.
No kissing camels.
No kissing camels.
Very interesting.
That is interesting.
Wow. So I wonder, do you think we're going to see this on the news like we did SARS and all that?
Oh, yeah, you're going to see. They kind of touch on it. They'll tell you a new case. Now, you want to be careful. The doctors over there in Saudi Arabia, some of the medical doctors aren't showing up for work because they don't want to catch it.
Wow.
So a lot of people wearing the masks and things. But basically, I think if you're in America or if you're in any of these countries that have a hospital reporting to be treating someone very contagious, and can get it from surfaces, shaking hands. So I'm sure it can travel through the hospital vents. So, before you go to have an elective procedure, I guess, maybe you got to have, I don't know, a bunion fixed or something. You definitely want to check, make sure there's no MERS patients in place.
Yeah, that's a smart idea. We're going to take a little break right now. Okay. We're with Wendy Wilson from thepowerherbs.com. If you'd like to listen to an entire show she did on May 15th, 2014, you can check that out. MERS. And when we come back, I'd like to talk a little bit about the chemtrails. And we've been seeing a lot of them around here. So maybe we'll get to the bottom of some of those issues.
We do have one metal question also in our chat room about mercury filling. So we'll talk about that maybe too. Excellent.
Okay, we'll be right back with Wendy Wilson right after this break. I have to say, I have been absolutely loving this product by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar called Good Morning, Good Evening Qigong. If you want to listen to the interview we did with Tristan, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/127. And Qigong is a great way to de-stress the body. And as you know, there's a huge component to disease caused by stress. And stress is a huge factor in how we live our lives and the amount of energy we have and the amount of vitality we have. And so, Dr. Shade, what do you think about Qigong?
People come to me and they're really sick and they got this blown out neurological system and all this toxicity. And I tell them, you need to do Qigong, Tai Chi. You need to do these things that settle down and restore your neurology, because it puts together all the parts. It puts you back into that state where you can start to detoxify. And so I highly, highly recommend all that.
And what about you, Kit Campbell? What do you think about Qigong? Do you like it as well?
Qigong is amazing. And the reason that I believe it to be amazing is everything here is energy. That is a scientific fact, if there ever is one. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually drawing energy into your body. Your intention, whatever your intention is behind any action, will determine the level of energy, type of energy that you absorb into your body. So your intention behind is very important, just like thought. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually bringing energy in and you're bringing out the stuff that might be a bit stale. With Tai Chi, it's totally different. The energy runs underneath the skin because it's more of a martial. This is the Chinese understanding, by the way. It's more of a martial art. So Qigong is very, very good for bringing that energy into the body, and just fantastic.
If you're interested in picking up this Qigong course by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar, go to extremehealthradio.com/Qigong. That's QIGONG. And you can learn more about it. There's a great video on that page, and you can learn more about it on that page. And I highly, highly recommend this product. I love it myself, so go ahead and check that out. extremehealthradio.com/Qigong.
All free shows, all the time on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
Doesn't it seem like, Kate, once every couple days we see these crisscross lines in the sky?
They're becoming more and more common, aren't they?
I know. I follow Ty Bollinger on Facebook. I was telling you this just the other day. He posted a picture of the skies above his house in Dallas, Texas, and he said, what an amazing day here in Dallas, Texas, except for the chemtrails. And it's just this crisscross.
So is it really an amazing day?
I know, right?
I know. We had a couple weeks ago, there was, I'm not kidding, I think I counted like 9 just right over there, just, crossing each other over the ocean. It was pretty horrific.
It's
actually.
Like a Connect 4 game, isn't it?
It was. Yeah, it was.
It's crazy.
Yeah. completely.
Wow.
A little freaky.
We're with Wendy Wilson. This is episode 252, and we broadcast live Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. If you guys are interested in joining the chat room and getting your questions answered, hopefully we can ask the majority of the questions from the chat room to our guests. So if you want to listen live and participate in everything that's going on at 9 a.m. Pacific on those days, feel free to do that. I'd love to have you a part of the chat room. And we wanted to talk a little bit about the chemtrails, Wendy, but we have one other question that I wanted to get to because it's kind of along the same lines as that. And Miko says in the chat room, I'm having my mercury fillings removed. Is there any good tincture to help me remove the heavy metals from my body?
Well, yes. There are some cleanses out there that will help remove over 2,000 pharmaceutical residues, heavy metals, radioactive particles, because obviously when you go to the dentist, you have x-rays. So yeah, there's some herbs that actually can pull that from the system. Now, a lot of those residues work their way down through the elimination channels of the body for hopefully, the body trying to get rid of them. So a majority of them tend to accumulate in the bowel, actually.
Ah, wow. So all this stuff just sort of sits there and can't get pushed out? Is that...
Well, yeah, see the blood system, its job is to deliver nutrition and oxygen and then take away debris. And the debris usually goes through the liver, and then the liver is this massive filter that has to, protect you from toxic overload. So it'll manufacture enzymes to try to neutralize those. And then those residues will go through the gallbladder, through the duodenum, and wind up usually in the bowel. Sometimes it can filter through the kidneys and out through the urine, but majority of that stuff goes to the bowel.
Interesting.
So you want to keep those elimination channels up and running, clean, so you have this free flow of toxicity leaving the body. So it's real important for folks, if they want to do organ cleansing, is you want to cleanse in the opposite of how the body filters. So you would want to start with the bowel first and open that up. And then you can move to the urinary tract and prostate and liver, gallbladder, blood system. Blood system is always last when you do your cleansing. Okay,
blood's last. Okay, because it's basically, like you said, the opposite of how you get rid of the toxins.
So, definitely if she's having an experienced person to remove that, it's real important you have a dentist with experience because you don't want to expose the blood to the mercury, okay? When they're removing and replacing fillings. So there's a special way that they have to go about that. Because they started using the mercury, the amalgam fillings in 1843 in the U.S.
Wow.
1843.
Wow.
Yep. And by 59, the American Dental Association that was founded, and they had worked with several different combinations of fillings for the amalgam. They had mercury, and the ratio of the amalgam to the mercury kind of differed. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think they're working with the gamma 2-phase amalgam fillings, if they're still putting those in. So it's a ratio of 1-to-1, basically, on the heavy metals in that.
Oh, gosh.
Wow. And so if someone were interested in doing, having that procedure done, could they call your store and find out? Maybe someone on the phone could tell them which tinctures would be good?
Yeah, well, you want to do the bowel cleanse, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, do your bowel cleanse. If you want to do all the system cleanses, it's even better. You start at the bowel, though, and you work your way up. Now, on our website, under that healthy guidelines section, you can click on cleanses, and it kind of gives you the order in which you would do them.
Gotcha.
So it's a kind of a guide sheet. And, of course, when we send out cleanses, we always have on the master sheet, a cheat sheet you could kind of post on your fridge, cleanse in the proper order so you don't forget. And you could just hit the cleanses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I see it right here.
Yeah, it's easy.
Okay.
Interesting.
Good.
So you've been doing a little bit of work lately, I see on your past archive shows about the chemtrails. What have you been finding out about these things?
I was asked to do a show on the chemtrails, and I'm no expert by any means on the subject, but I did find some interesting things when I did, kind of dive into the topic, because a lot of people think, chemtrails, they don't exist, and some people think they do exist, and they're killing the environment and us. Mm-hmm. So, but basically people started noticing, I think, the chemtrails around the 1990s. Mm-hmm. And there's several theories around the chemtrails. There, it's the government intentionally spraying harmful substances into the atmosphere to conduct experiments, maybe manipulate weather, to all the way to promote disease and to create global warming. So there's a whole shebang of theories about why this is. But I think regardless of the intent, if you're older than 30, you know that chemtrails are not natural.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I never saw these things.
It's got to have an impact.
Yeah, it has to. I never remember seeing these as a child.
No, not at all. They're pretty recent. Interesting.
Yeah, so people started seeing them more in the 1990s, and obviously a lot more after 2001 and that kind of thing. Right.
Now, I did contact Therese Saunier, who's a CES environment consultant, retired. Okay, she's retired. And she actually analyzed some chemtrail substances. And she sent me the documents on this stuff. And it's all very technical and, chemistry-based. But just to keep it, simple, she says there are heavy metals in the chemtrails, and she feels that they are way above normal, and they're altering the pH of the soil and also the pH in our lungs. Now, in various parts of the United States, they've also noticed that vegetation is dying which thrived prior to the chemtrails. And it's Therese Saunier's expert opinion that the aluminum, the barium, the calcium, the magnesium, the titanium from the chemtrails is altering rain and snow. I mean, this past winter was very bizarre, Okay, quite unusual. Some reports in some of the northern part of the U.S. stated that the snow didn't look normal. It kind of looked like styrofoam.
Yeah.
And it didn't melt normally, and when you applied heat to it, it kind of turned black. It was kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I remember seeing some pictures and videos going around the internet that showed just that.
Yeah, actually, I know Ernie Sanders, who does a show on WHKW, and he's in Cleveland, and he confirmed that because they did the same thing. They did the same,
So what they do actually try to burn the snow or something, didn't they?
They because usually when you have a ball of snow from your freezer or ice box, if you take some of that, and it melts within a few minutes, maybe a minute. You can melt some ice, but this stuff took longer than a minute to start to melt, and then when it did, it kind of turned black.
Wow.
Gosh,
what a weird
What
thing.
is that?
I know, and some of the other analysis, we have some retired aviators, the flyer boys, very curious about chemtrails too.
Yeah.
They actually had some laboratory analysis done on some of the substances, and they said, besides the heavy metals, there was also arsenic, some gold and lead, mercury, silver, uranium, zinc, and get this, 19 other heavy metals. I don't have time to list them all. And also they found anthrax, 4 different types of molds and fungus, 7 viruses, 2 types of cancer, E. coli, salmonella, and pneumonia pathogens.
Wow. So is it possible, do you think?
And camels. I'm just kidding.
Camels.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's possible
let's strain out a gnat and swallow a camel, shall we?
I wonder if it's possible, though, that if any of these substances could have been in the air, if they were only in the part of the chemtrail that they actually were able to test.
I'm sure there's probably some natural means for these to be there, but
Wow.
the heavy metals, from what the chemists are saying, are way above what normally would be there. They're dumping tons of the stuff into the atmosphere. Actually, I saw before they took it down on YouTube, there was a plane coming in at night who the pilot forgot to turn off his chemtrail thing, and the thing was spraying all the way to the ground.
Oh my goodness! Is it still on YouTube, do you think?
They took that down in a skinny minute.
Oh my! You know what? That's funny. Sometimes at night when it's dark, we take showers just with a few candle lights on because we try not to be exposed to a lot of light at night. But I will see sometimes when there's a real good sky, these white trails up in there. So they're going on all the time. I mean, they're sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, somebody caught this on their camera phone. Outside an airport. They were on a highway, and the landing strip was close to the highway, and they just filmed it,
Oh, my gosh.
And here's this plane going over the highway, spraying all this stuff and landing with all their gear down, and all this junk is coming out.
Oh, my God.
Wow. Do you find that you see a lot of that over where you are, too? Because we see it on the West Coast a a lot.
Yeah, I mean, a Sunday, they must take Sunday off,
Yeah.
Day of rest.
Sunday is the good day. You got a blue sky. There it is. Amen.
Totally.
But yeah, and they go with the jet streams, the weather patterns and stuff. So they start high in the foothills, the Piedmont, and it blows down into Charlotte. See.
Wow. Yeah, and so it almost precludes being, wanting to know the why of it if you just know what's going on. I mean, if you do want to know the why, you could, consider legislation and rallying and bringing awareness. But at the very base, knowledge of all this, just knowing what's in these things, and then it allows you to at least do some kind of cleansing, right?
Absolutely. I think more than ever before, we are the generation that has to stay a step ahead of toxicity. I mean, in ancient times, 2,000 years ago, fasting was a cleanse. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now we can't just rely on that. We have too much going on in our environments that, we have to cleanse on a regular basis just to be normal.
Yeah. Just to keep this stuff off of us. So, I wonder if they're targeting major cities. Probably, right?
I would think so. The highly populated areas. According to Anye, she truly believes that the chemtrails are, here to assist the GMO crops as well. So they'll thrive, whereas conventional will not.
I wonder how they're doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a question for the scientists, obviously.
Yeah, because somehow there must be some interaction between the chemtrail chemicals and how it affects the soil of GMO crops, and then that continues from there, I guess.
Absolutely, there's got to be something in the GMO crop that just has to have those components on it. Wow.
Before the show, Wendy, I meant when we were chatting with you, you mentioned Morgellons. Is that how you say Morgellons?
Yeah, because when I was doing this topic on chemtrails, I was trying to see if there was some sort of connection between some conditions we're seeing more and more of, including what you just said, Morgellons, dry eye, and the COPD respiratory problem.
Right.
Okay.
And it's Morgellons, it's kind of a debate. It just depends on who you ask. I mean, most doctors still, I think, don't classify it as a real disease, and they put the patients on antidepressants. It's kind of like all in their head. And but then you see other places on the internet where people say that they've extracted some of those fibers that come out through the skin that don't look like hair, and under a microscope have RF chip letters on them.
What is that?
Well, they're fiber optics.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, RFID.
Yeah. According to Dr. Carly, she thinks this was laboratory-created disease that merged human DNA with technology, fiber optics, and it self-replicates. So when people, and they're not really sure how they come in contact with this stuff to get it, and why some people get it and some don't, but it seems, people feel like they have things crawling under the skin or on them, and drives them insane. And I think if that's the case, it may be the fiber optics with the artificial intelligence replicating and moving around.
Yeah, there's this really big push. Have you seen it these days with merging technology with biology? There's a big push for that.
It is. Because Dr. Edward Spencer, he reported different findings on the fibers than what the CDC. The CDC just says that they looked at them and they're just cotton.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But Dr. Spencer, who reported his findings, he's a neurologist from Yale with 3 decades of medical practice under his belt.
Wow.
When he reported what he found under a dermoscope, they professionally ruined the guy.
Wow, what'd they do?
Because it was cellulose, polymers, carbon, and he said some type of nanotechnology he had never seen.
Really?
Yep.
This was recently?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was like 2010 is when that came out, because CDC has been, trying to investigate it and kind of, push the topic down that it's really nothing. It's not nanoparticles. It's really cotton fibers. They probably just had a cotton shirt on, see?
Yeah. Obviously, right?
Well, and then there's Dr. Scott. He thinks that people are doused with these microscopic fibers from the chemtrails. And
who's
he
Dr.
thinks
Scott?
it's a biological military weapon they're using on people now. I don't know.
Well, and who's this Dr. Scott?
Well, Dr. Scott, he is one of these guys that is part of the Morgellons network, the Morgellons Research Foundation.
Okay.
It was founded in 2002 to raise awareness about the truth of the disease. It's a nonprofit. There's like 14,000 families in the foundation, active members. They support each other, give each other support, and but they don't think that as a group they are rejecting the nanotechnology bioweapon thing. They think it's maybe a bacteria that medicine hasn't identified yet. So Dr. Scott has a little bit of pushback on that theory.
Wow. Golly. Either way, I mean, this is just crazy.
Crazy
Oh, I know.
stuff going
And
on.
then there's Dr. Michael Capello. He said that he thinks Morgellons is caused by parasites, and he speculates it came from dirty kitty litter. So I don't know. When I dig into this, it's like layer of the onion.
Right.
And so there's really no smoking gun to really connect yet. So, but
And
it's just
a never-ending,
FYI.
never-ending rabbit hole. You know,
Yeah.
just keep going. So
I
how
know.
does it relate to the dry eye? You said.
Oh, the dry eye. Well, a lot of people complaining about that. 25 million Americans now are
Really?
Coming up with this dry eye, and it's really excessive inflammation in the eye is what it is.
Uh-huh.
All right, so it prohibits the eye from producing adequate tears to lubricate, and doctors tend to prescribe artificial tears, and there's this new product, you've probably seen it on the TV, Restasis, cyclosporin. Yep. Yeah, it was cleared by the FDA in 2002 for use as a drop for dry eye to reduce the inflammation. So, and they also usually prescribe people artificial tear products to go with it, and anti-inflammatory drugs. Wow. It's $300 a year to use the stuff, but the thing is if you read the insert with the prescription Restasis, it says don't use it with non-steroidal anti-inflammatories.
Oh my gosh, what a weird thing. So okay, so they're just combining these two, and they shouldn't.
Yeah, doctors are saying use the anti-inflammatories with it, and the drug company says don't. So that's a question mark. The side effects are really bad. I mean, you talk about dry eye being a problem before you started. You're going to have worse problems afterwards. I mean, you can have breathing problems. This is how bad it is. So I tell people always do your homework on your drugs before you use them.
Yeah.
And they've not tested the drug on certain people with certain infections. So let's say you have an eye infection, for instance, you shouldn't use it. Or if you have herpes viral infection of the eye, you shouldn't use it. Because the way this drug works is it suppresses the immune system. It blocks your T cells, those macrophages we were talking about. It reduces the inflammation by blocking the immune system response.
Isn't that wild? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically how all drugs work, isn't it?
Well, do you know where this Restasis got started? The vets were using it.
Oh.
They used it on pets for eye problems, and now they just give it a new name, market it to humans, and wow, voila, $620 million in annual sales. Look at that.
Oh my gosh, right though?
Yeah. So, and you can't use it if you've had LASIK surgery. You shouldn't use it if you have certain conditions like arthritis, lupus, diabetes. I mean, so you really have to research your stuff. So I was just wondering if this kick up in dry eye all of a sudden seems to be related to chemtrails.
And have you found anything in that regard?
No smoking gun. No.
Smoking
I have
gun.
not found that, but a lot of research says, dry eye has been a problem since 2007. But, I take that back. A review that was published on this back in 2007 reported that dry eye started, are you ready, in the 1990s.
Oh, of course.
Really?
With chemtrails.
Surprise, surprise.
You know what's wild about that is that's when at the beginning of the 90s, that's when they started kicking up the vaccinations for kids, and then the chemtrails come out, the internet happened. I mean, the 90s
the perfect
is just a
storm.
crazy decade.
I'm telling you, I think it was Dr. Carly that told me, I asked her, I said, well, when I was going to school, you needed like, what, 5, 6 vaccines maybe to get into kindergarten, you know, first grade, whatever. And now it's like over 50.
Yeah.
Is that right? Really? 50?
I think.
Well, if the parents buy into all of the vaccines, I think it's like 50.
Isn't that amazing?
So
58, something like that. It's some god-awful number.
Wow.
And I used to, I talked to Dr. Anthony Morris. He used to work for the FDA, and he came across some information on vaccines, and he resigned from the FDA. And I was talking to him about it, and he says, well, the vaccines for childhood diseases are only in the blood 6 months. And I said, then what happens? He goes, well, then there's no protection if you're looking at protection in the blood. And I'm like, so why don't they revaccinate every 6 months? He says, because it would destroy an immune system.
Oh, so you still get a real big hit to your immune system in the initial vaccination.
It's a corruption of the immune system.
Yeah.
It definitely is. I think, well, even Bill Gates said, we can control 15% of the population through vaccinations. Come on.
Right.
So it's a problem. None of this stuff's been tested for cancer and for certain internal medicine diseases we see a lot of. And if you look at the correlations, the data, everything seems to correlate with these vaccines being used, with a lot of these diseases kind of, becoming pandemics, really.
Yeah, you can start, connecting the dots. We put a link on our Facebook site just recently about Bill Gates and how he's offering funding to Japanese scientists to develop vaccinations that will be inside of mosquitoes, if you could believe it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just an all-knowing. It's the Great Oz, right? You want to know what you're doing all the time, and if you won't get vaccinated, you won't have your kid vaccinated. Well, here comes the mosquito.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I did a report recently that they are coming out with technology where has some patients forget to take their meds. Now, don't have to worry. They'll inject you with a small little device under the skin that has your drug in it, and for 5 years, it'll dispense that drug like clockwork.
Yeah, I saw something about that maybe about 6 months ago, and it was, and I just thought that was so interesting. They just skipped the whole idea of maybe sending a text reminder to you. They just skipped that step, right? They just inject it for you.
Go straight to the bloodstream.
Well, the thing is, if it's sending signals to your doctor, okay, patient X has taken his drug today, hooray.
Yeah.
Any of this stuff can be hacked. What's stopping an enemy of yours from, hacking in and saying, okay, I think he needs an extra dose.
Totally.
Yeah.
I go there when because everything's hackable,
You're right.
So I wonder about the technology when it comes to the medical field. It's
getting kind of weird.
It's going to be an interesting ride. Definitely going to be interesting.
Wow.
You get an email. I think you need to own some camels.
Taking it all the way back.
Yeah.
Well, what was really weird is a couple of years ago they said camel milk, helps with autism.
Oh no,
Wow.
I didn't hear that.
Wow.
Yeah. It seems to be. I don't know, but who's got time to milk a camel?
I know, right?
Right.
Wow.
In the chat room, then people are saying, well, what do we do about these chemtrails? I'm sure your answer is going to be, again, to cleanse and do things that we have control over, right?
Yeah, that's what I tell my radio audience. I say, what I would do is, definitely, protect yourself as best you can. Do your cleansing. Keep your environment as clean as you can. Do what you can, and the rest is up to God. See?
Exactly.
And so there's this prayer I pray a lot. It's Psalms 91. It's a supernatural protection, and 10,000 will drop dead next to you, but it won't come near you. So these actually, if you look at Deuteronomy chapter 28, it was an interesting little chapter there, where Moses has given Israel the little speech. You obey, you get these blessings. He goes down the blessings. If you disobey over here, here comes the cursing, and he goes down the cursing, and God says, you will have the plagues of Egypt, which you are afraid of, but you will also have the sickness and the plagues not written of in this book.
Oh.
So now we're in the latter days, and we got some interesting stuff.
Interesting stuff.
Interesting.
Wow.
So we've got the disease is not written of in the book because I think Dr. Carley could be right. These are lab-designed biological weapons.
Wow. I mean, it could be for lots of different reasons, like you said. I mean, population control, all kinds of different reasons.
Sure. I mean, it's just weird that, all of a sudden, well, they the WHO says there's 14,000 diseases they know of. Wow. So I just think that, we've got our work cut out for us as we're going to have to try to keep the temple of, the Holy Spirit clean and healthy.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people say, doctors especially say you can't do any immune boosting. That's a myth. Okay. This is what I would say to that doctor. Doc, you've got so many things out there now that are suppressing immune system, like antibiotics and vaccines and whatever. What we're doing with herbs is we're bringing that immune system back up to normal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Say, we're at work. And if you look at Scripture, and I prefer to believe the big guy.
Yeah.
He says, herbs are here for the service of man in Psalms 114. And then in Genesis, the first chapter, I think it's verse 29, he said, herbs are meat. They're spiritual meat. So they're real powerful. And when my kids were little, they would say, Mom, how come this stuff tastes so bad? It's bitter. Herbs are bitter. And I said, well, you see, this strawberry right here, this is a nutritional food, and it's sweet. You can eat a lot of this. The herbs are medicine, and they're bitter. God doesn't want you to eat too much.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense to kids. So they can, you can put any of your herbal liquids. What's that Confucius saying? Good medicine always tastes bitter.
Oh, right,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can put any of your herbal tinctures in juice or water to hide the taste. In a pinch, spoonful of sugar, do the Mary Poppins thing. Just, get it in you. And after a while, it's just nothing. I can take the hottest formula we make with habaneros. It's like nothing to me now. But when in the beginning, you're going to have to put it in something.
Work your way up. We had one last closing question in the chat room. They want to know if you have any opinion on getting a root canal but saving the tooth holistically with herbs and tinctures instead. Have you ever seen anybody kind of reverse that?
Well,
naturally?
When you got that damage to the root bulb of the tooth, that's a real problem. Basically the tooth dies, and a lot of people are against root canals. That, it's more problems that, it's better just extract the tooth and get a bridge put in or an implant.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Actually, that's the way I would lean personally. And instead of doing the root canal, because there's just no way they can get all of the bacteria in that root canal.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a root canal, I would drive the dentist crazy because they can't get my entire tooth on an X-ray. I have the teeth of a 300-pound man, I've been told. So, can you imagine trying to get all the pulp out of that? Come on, they'd be like cursing. And then they fill the canal. They have to fill the canal with, it smells like Clorox. I don't know if you've ever had a root canal. I hope you have. But it smells like Clorox. And the thing is root canals, when they're done, they're not 100% good for the rest of your life. Sometimes they go bad.
Right.
And they have to go in and redo it. So I'd probably do an extraction and then an implant.
Well,
you might want to look at Costa Rica. It's cheaper.
Justin and I actually just both had some root canals extracted, and let me tell you, the oppression that was on my immune system, I've seen it literally in my body over the last 8 weeks just lift. And so there's that, and since we're talking about immune systems anyway, being bogged down, I mean, the more we can do in all areas to kind of lighten that load is very important.
Well, to answer your chat room's question there are some herbs in the beginning before you get a lot of degrading and cavity to the tooth. You can drip some herbs in a liquid form like a tincture on the tooth, and you can help rebuild the dentin on the tooth. But not when you got a big crater. We're talking about when you first start to see a cavity, a little discoloring. That's when you want to do that. And you can save that tooth from having a cavity and damage.
Right. Okay.
So you want to use like horsetail, oat straw. These are high calcium types of herbs. And calcium, the body likes calcium in 2-to-1 ratio, like 2 parts calcium, 1 part boron, 1 part magnesium. And you find that in your calcium-rich plants, fruits and vegetables, herbs, not in dairy products.
Okay. Yeah, I see on your website under body care, is that where you carry, it looks like a tooth and gum restore with bleeding gums?
Well, that one's a little different. That's really good for if you got gingivitis and bleeding gums and loose teeth. And it's just really good at clearing away pathogens, the bacteria's in there. If you're wanting to rebuild dentin and the calcium issue, then you want the calcium formula. So you can pair those up together. One you swallow, one you don't. The tooth and gum is not one that you swallow.
Okay.
But it's really good for canker sores, too, and cold sores and stuff. Wow. I like to take it even if I were to get a sore throat and you get those little pustules on the back of your throat. I'll take some of that tooth and gum in a few ounces of water, and I'll gargle with it, and all of a sudden all those pustules disappear.
Oh, wow.
So it's really good as a pathogen, deterrent.
Nice.
So it's nice.
It's interesting. A while back, I heard Daniel Vitalis, and I think he was on our Squatty Potty ad a while back, but he talked about herbs, and he said something that really kind of stuck with me. It was really interesting. He said that we go to the gym, for our bodies, and we go there to work out, and we lift weights, and we, build our muscles on our skeletal system, our muscles. But then what herbs do is they actually go through and actually exercise your internal organs. It's like an internal organ exercise, and the alkaloids and the bitter nature of the compounds that are inside the herbs actually strengthens your organs over time. And I thought that was really interesting. It was a cool way of looking at it. It's like an internal workout.
Yeah, some of the herbs have what we call adaptogen capabilities. Your ginsengs, for instance, have that, and they can go in and read chemical markers, and they can perform certain benefits to the body depending on what the body's needing. Another herb that does that is Lobelia. Lobelia we talked about earlier. Actually, herbalists call that a thinking herb because it'll go in and it'll read your chemical markers. Let's say you have muscle tension, you're having some, spasms. It'll act like an antispasmodic. If you have fluid retention and you've got edema, it'll work like a diuretic. Yeah.
Wow.
And if you have congestion, it will dilate the bronchial while it relaxes the chest cavity muscle, so you can get more power behind a cough and dislodge the mucus and get it out of there. So it's one of those herbs that's got a lot of different benefits.
Oh my gosh.
And it does strengthen the system. Your immune system think of that as a muscle. You have to exercise that if you want lifelong immunity. And if you want lifelong immunity, you can't count on getting everything from mother's milk,
Right.
Yeah. So the immune system has to experience certain things to build up its repertoire of antiviral, microbial defenses. So, kids that go outside and play in the dirt are going to have a stronger immune system than ones that have, germaphobe parents,
Right.
So yeah, it's a muscle. You got to exercise the immune system and let it work. You can use herbs to shorten the duration of an illness and allow the immune system to work and move through it. And what it does is it codes an antibody. Okay, because there's hundreds and hundreds of viruses. So if you allow it to deal with a virus without using over-the-counter stuff or prescription stuff, because absolutely antibiotics don't work on viruses anyway.
Right.
So if you could let it work on it, it'll code that antibody. So the next time you come in contact with that virus, that pathogen, you have such a high resistance to it, you won't get sick.
I love it. It's like educating your immune system, It's great.
So your immune system kind of has its own little database. Okay, so the NSA of immunity, alrighty? And so it's going to collect all this information. It's going to keep it.
You're right, and bust it out when
That's right.
Wow.
Have you ever done, this is kind of an off-topic question about herbs, but have you ever done any urine therapy? I do that.
No.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I know people that have done that.
Yeah.
And in some cases it's very effective, but personally I haven't. I think I think the closest I would get to any kind of use of urine other than, seeing it go bye-bye down the toilet is maybe doing what they did in Pompeii and use it to clean clothes.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I do it because they say it helps to re-educate your immune system, like you were just saying. And I do a little bit of that and a little bit of Bragg's apple cider vinegar, and you can't taste a thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I get calls about urine, but not about drinking it.
Yeah.
Usually it's like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Urine can tell you a lot. Fecal matter can tell you a lot. This is why when the president goes overseas anywhere, he has somebody on his team that goes behind him in the bathroom and collects everything.
Seriously?
Really?
Yeah, and because they don't want foreign governments knowing about the health of their president.
Oh
my goodness! Well, that makes sense.
I've never heard that before.
I've never heard that. Interesting.
Right. So usually, people call with, my urine is really dark, or it's murky, or it's smelly. Usually, dark means maybe you ate something. Certain foods like asparagus can make your pee look really bright yellow. But a lot of times, if you didn't eat something that does that, what happens is if you're dehydrated, the kidneys recycle a lot of the urine for fluids. And so you want to make sure you're hydrating properly. So it may be, you're dehydrated. If you get murky urine, usually it's a lot of white blood cells in there, so you may have an infection. And if you smell something foul, usually that's an indication of an infection. Women and men, if they get a urinary tract infection, urine will smell like ammonia. And that's a big clue right there.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, thank you, Wendy, for spending so much time. If people want to find out more, they can listen to your radio show that you do, right?
Absolutely. We are on American Voice Radio satellite Tuesday and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay. We're on WWCR shortwave Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. And that's, I think, 4840 on the shortwave. And then for AM FM, we're also on GCN Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern. I know that's a little early for West Coast people, but they do archive it and audio stream it on the web. So.
Wow. And so on your archive page, does that contain all of 3 of those shows, or is it just the GCN?
My archive page is the satellite shows.
Okay.
GCN has rights to the AM/FM syndicate broadcast, so they have an archive section on GCNlive.com. And by the way, they can get to our website with herbtalklive.com. That's the name of the show, so they can use that as well.
Oh, good.
Talk Live.
It looks like you go back to January 5th, 2010. You've been doing this for a while.
I've been on the air since 2002, so I keep having to, they scream at me saying bandwidth and all this mess and get rid of some shows. And so then I have to go in and cut some, get rid of some. But yeah, I've been up there for years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, thank you for being out there for all these years.
Oh, thanks. I've enjoyed my time with you. It's just like we're sitting down like old friends over a cup of herbal tea.
Having a chat. That's what we love. This is just great. I love these conversations.
Well, thank you so much, Wendy. Can you hold on the line? We're going to close out the live show. And for those that are listening live, please, if you would like to continue the discussion, we're going to open up our forum and create a thread on the forum just for this particular episode. So you can check that out. And this is episode 252. So we really appreciate you guys listening live. And
thanks everybody in the chat room. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I love the chat room.
Hopefully we got to most questions. We're sorry if we didn't get to them all, but thanks for asking. And continue the conversation in the forum. And
yes.
You guys have a lot of knowledge. So
252. And what we'll do is Kate and I will record a little ending to the show that you can catch on the podcast once we post that. So thank you everybody for listening live, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
Yeah, we could talk all day.
I know. We gotta wrap up our show after we get off the line with you.
All right, sweethearts. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All righty, take care.
Have a great day. Bye.
So we just had a nice, fun little chat with Wendy Wilson off the air as well.
She is a doll.
Isn't she great?
Love her.
Yeah, I really like what she's doing.
We could talk all day to her. She's got just just like everybody else in the show, just a wealth of information and knowledge that you could, it's like, don't you wish you could have like 10 people in your medicine cabinet? Like have 10 people in your whatever you call that, where you put your arrows, your quiver or whatever.
Oh, your quiver, yeah.
It's like, I'd love to have her, have her around when you're hiking and you get a snake bite with her toolkit. Have David Wolf and Daniel Vitalis when you're out and foraging, and you're stranded after some earthquake and you need to forage for some food. I mean,
you can't forget Bear Grylls too.
Well, he's without saying, and he's hot.
And he's got an accent.
I do love Bear Grylls.
But yeah, she's really an interesting lady.
But she is somebody I'd want to have, it's almost like you do want to stock up on that emergency kit. I was on her site looking at different things, and off there we talked about a lot of, which we didn't get into on the show, about a lot of options for pets.
For pets, yeah, because she heard Maggie in the background barking, and we're asking her about her products, her greens for pet products. And,
there's also drops for anxiety for dogs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Drops for anxiety.
I've heard about it, because we tend to have an anxious dog. I mean, she shakes. She doesn't like to go to the vet. She gets stressed out about certain things. And I know a lot of dogs have anxiety just every day, There's a lot of dogs with some, sadly, some problems. But they have some really neat products on here.
Yeah,
she's got some amazing stuff going on.
Yeah, she's friends. Any friend, any person who's a friend of Ty Bollinger is a friend of ours.
Amen. That's what I'm saying.
She's a part of the summit. That's really cool that he's doing.
I know. I can't wait to see that. So that comes out like this week, right?
Let me go. It's extremehealthradio.com/truth-about-cancer. Let me go there and see Truth About Cancer. No.com at the end of that.
No.com.
extremehealthradio.com/truth-about-cancer. Let me see the dates of it. May 26th, 2014 to June 1st. I'm looking forward to this.
So that's 6 days. Wow.
That starts next Monday.
Wow.
Because today's Wednesday. Interesting, though. This is going to be a full video summit. So he went across the country filming this stuff.
Gee.
It's just pretty cool.
So she's on that. Yay!
Yeah, she was a part of that.
That's so neat.
Pretty cool, huh?
I can see why. I mean, that was probably anybody Ty has on his shows and his information. He gets the best of the best.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So thepowerherbs.com, they have, this would be good stuff, children's formulas. They have stuff for kids and all kinds of interesting things, huh?
Look like they have a little something for everybody.
Yeah, we have her Power Herbs ebook. I would recommend getting that. Did she say they give that away if you buy product, or is it something that you have to buy? I forget.
I don't remember.
I can't remember what she said during the show.
Well, hopefully they heard it when everybody's listening to it.
Yeah. But either way, whether you get it with a product or if you buy it, it's just really, really good. We have it in PDF format, so you can check it out on your Kindle and your iPad and all that stuff. But good stuff.
Yep.
Good stuff.
And I just think to equip ourselves with information is, nothing better.
Nothing better than that.
Very powerful. I think the more we can get in our tool belt, the better.
And start working with herbs.
There's so many things like herbs, and there's oils. There's all these different modalities that I feel like they all work together in such beautiful ways.
Yeah, you have herbs, essential oils, homeopathic medicines. You can make those.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
Pretty neat.
All right, guys. So this is episode 252. Is that right? Yep.
252.
Wendy Wilson, thepowerherbs.com. So you can check that out. If you have any questions about the commercials that we ran, Less EMF, Squatty Potty, or the Qigong, you can always check those out in our store. We have links to all of those, so you can check those out. There's videos in our store. A lot of times when we do interviews with the product creators, we put those in the store. So there's lots in the store that you can learn more about the particular products that we have. So it's kind of designed as an educational tool as well to put as much info in there. And we are 100% listener supported. So if you guys would like to send a donation or anything like that, we are very grateful and appreciative of anything that you guys feel free to send. It's not necessary. And if you can't send a little donation, no big deal. You can always share our page on Facebook. I was going to say you can share our Facebook. You can share our face.
You can share our faces.
You can share our faces. So yeah, feel free to share this show with anybody that you think might benefit from it, or who might need information like this, or who's interested in herbs and that kind of thing. So
and camels.
Yeah. Anybody that likes camels, I think.
There's something with real quick. There's something with camels, by the way.
Yeah.
Because when she said it, I don't know why it's so funny to me, but I have the silly little, what do they call them, emoticons on your phone, on your cell phone.
Yeah.
And randomly, I just like to send people the camel. Because there's these little, there's happy faces and thumbs up. And then there's these camels. One has one hump and one has two. And sometimes I just randomly send people a camel and they write back like LOL or that's funny. And
what the heck is that?
I don't know, but the camel just kills me. So when she said camel, I'm like, oh, it's where this MERS thing is starting.
That is funny.
MERS.
Camels.
Who knew? Anywho.
MERS or MERS, who knows?
Who knows?
So thank you, everybody, for joining us.
That was fun. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. And we'll be back again on Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific. You can check that out for the live show, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now, but our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download our free gift too that contains cutting-edge strategies to start making healthy lifestyle changes today.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent